Welcome back to the New Hampshire International Speedway. Last year, in a span of less than 2 months, 2 young and promising racers lost their lives at this track. 2 tragic accidents that took 2 sons from their fans, their friends, their families, and their fathers. On May 12, 2000, we lost Adam Petty. This weekend, Kyle Petty made his first visit to the New Hampshire Speedway since that day.
We used to joke about being father and son and best friend. But it was...
Dad, this could be the best day of my life. I've been dreaming day and night about the fun we'll have. Just me and you doing what I've always wanted to. I'm the luckiest boy alive. This is the best day of my life.
He's a lot better race car driver than I ever thought about being. He may rival his grandfather at some point in time, but it's good to know that somebody's going to be winning some races that has the last name Petty for a long time to come.
Adam Petty made 1 Winston Cup start at Texas last year. Today, Kyle starts 26th in the car that was going to be his son's. Here's Marty Snyder.
Well, Bill, we asked Kyle Petty about doing an interview for our pre-race show. He talked about it with wife Patty last night. They decided as a family on the phone it would not be in Kyle's best interest to do an interview for this pre-race show. It has been a difficult weekend not only for Kyle and the entire Petty family, but also for this race team. Remember, this was Adam's team, and they have not been back to New Hampshire since the accident in which he lost his life. Friday was very difficult for Kyle coming back to the racetrack. Saturday was perhaps more trying. He met with the safety officials who helped Adam after the accident. He simply wanted to say, thank you. I asked Kyle if he was ready to go home. He said, I actually never even wanted to come here, but I knew I needed to come here. I needed this for closure. It has provided that, and for that, I am thankful. But I am indeed ready for the race to start, and I'm ready for it to be over with. Bill.
Thank you, Marty. It's a pleasure to welcome veteran reporter Jim Huber to our TNT NASCAR broadcast team. And, Jim, you have the story of another son that lost his life here at New Hampshire.
Yeah, you're right, Bill. Thank you very much. You know, we come here to Loudon with an ache in the pit of our stomachs. For of the 3 drivers who died racing a year ago, 2 of them lost their lives on this very track, New Hampshire International Speedway. 1 just hours preceding this very race. And if NASCAR mourned the death of Kenny Irwin, you can imagine how his family handled the tragedy for the last 12 months. They're still not handling it very well. I had a chance to spend some time recently with Kenny Sr. to talk about his namesake and his only son.
I'm very concerned with people forgetting Kenny. To be honest with you, that's one reason I'm doing this interview.
Where did the racing instincts come from in Kenny?
Well, the racing instincts in me come from my father, and so I decided if I had a boy that he would do what I always wanted to do. We raced since he was 5 years old. We started racing, and at age 16, Kenny come to me, and he said, Dad, I want to do this for a living. He said, I want to make this my profession.
As a father, Kenny, what was the greatest thrill you had with him?
I have a picture hanging up in my office. It shows Robert Yates putting on the 28 jacket on Kenny. I knew that all the work and all the sacrifices we had made, everything was paid in full, just right there on that moment. It was the great experience of my life. It wasn't a race that he'd won or a qualifying that he had set down or anything else. It was just watching Robert Yates put that 28 jacket on Kenny.
I know this is the toughest thing of all, but can you take me back to that day? A little bit over a year ago.
Kenny and I were going to race each other the following Wednesday night down in Whiteland, Indiana. So he told his mother, he says, tell Dad that he better really practice this weekend because he says, I'm going to kick his butt down there. So I was looking forward to trying to get my game up a little bit because I knew that he was probably going to kick my butt. But must have been about 9:15, and I got a call from his attorney, which was his business manager, and he told me that Kenny just had a very bad accident, and he was crying on the phone. And he said Kenny didn't make it. There'll never be a more disappointing day in my life than that day was.
Kyle and Patty were there
Kyle and
immediately?
Patty were an instrument, an absolute instrument. Kyle called me that night or the next morning, and he come over to the house and stayed there a couple hours and come to the funeral, called me several times after. Patty talked with Reva. They knew exactly what we were experiencing. They knew that they had a son that had the same kind of spirit Kenny did. He was born to race, and that this was his life.
In the years since, where have you all gone for your solace? Who has helped? Who'd been there?
I must truly say that the pastor of our church and our belief in God has what has really strengthened our family. Our three girls and my wife. We very much believe in the Lord. We feel that Kenny believed in the Lord as well as we did, and he told my wife can hardly watch a race. She goes to the track, but she can hardly watch the car go around. And Kenny told her one day, he says, "Listen, Mom, if something happens to me, I know where I'm going. I'm going to heaven."
Kenny Sr. and his wife Reva have learned a lot about their son in the weeks and months preceding or following his death. They found out, in fact, that he had a philanthropic side to him that they didn't know much about. They found families across America that he was helping financially that they didn't know about. Families with children in desperate need of help because of medical emergencies. And so, with that in mind, and in tribute to their son, they've started the Kenny Irwin Foundation. They're going to buy land, build cabins and a ranch, and bring disadvantaged children to that ranch in the summertime as a tribute. And I can't think of a better one for him, Bill.
Neither can I. Tony Stewart won that race 1 year ago and presented the trophy to Kenny Irwin Sr.
They were close growing up. They raced against each other.
Jim, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
We'll continue from the New Hampshire International Speedway in just a moment. Stay with us here on TNT.